In this clip you're about to watch, a mum and her husband had been noticing things around their house that just didn't add up. Small stuff at first, the kind of thing you brush off and blame on stress or a long day. But when it keeps happening, you stop brushing it off and you start setting up cameras. They installed one the night before this was filmed, and it took less than 24 hours to catch something. She gets up from the little bouncy ball seat to put her baby down for a nap. A completely ordinary Tuesday afternoon moment. And that's when the ball starts moving on its own. No one near it, no draft, no pet bumping into it. Just a slow, deliberate sway that has absolutely no business happening in an empty room. Now here's what stands out the most. The movement isn't frantic or violent, it's almost calm, like whatever is in that house is just making its presence known, casual about it even. And that detail matters, because it tells us this isn't a one-time spike of energy. This is something comfortable, something that's been there long enough to feel at home. One thing that some paranormal researchers actually suggest in situations like this is acknowledging the presence out loud, letting it know you're aware of it, but firmly stating you want to be left alone. Some people swear by it. Whether it works consistently or not is a whole other conversation. But the fact that people reach for that strategy tells you something. Sometimes the most unsettling thing isn't the activity itself, it's the feeling that something is listening. And whatever is in this house, it's definitely listening. Because the activity doesn't stop there. She's home alone this time when the camera picks up something that stops you cold right at the top of the footage. A male voice, clear enough to make you rewind it twice, says something that sounds exactly like, "Wash your hands with soap."
Wash my hands.
That is a full sentence, spoken by a voice that has no physical body attached to it. And what makes it even more unnerving is how mundane it is. It's not a growl or a scream, it's instructions. Like something that used to live in that space is still going through the motions of daily life, completely unbothered by the fact that it's dead. This kind of EVP, where a disembodied voice speaks in plain, conversational language, is actually more commonly reported than people realize. There are accounts of people walking through a completely empty room and suddenly hearing a man's voice speak directly to them, close enough to feel like someone is standing right next to them. It never gets less terrifying, no matter how many times you hear it described. The third piece of footage is what really shifts this from active haunting to something potentially more layered. Her husband had just finished mounting a new camera in the hallway, and they were checking the angle on her phone when the camera picks up what sounds unmistakably like a child giggling. Her husband heard it with his own ears in real time. Their son was in his room playing, accounted for. But here's the detail that makes your skin crawl. His camera cut out at the exact moment the giggle was captured, and in the footage from his room, just seconds before, there's a faint whisper buried underneath the sound of him playing with his toys.
They'll pull on. Well, actually, I think they pull on their ears when they're teething, so I'm gonna look it up. Nice. What?
I don't know if he's discovered his ear and that's why he's playing with it, or if it hurts.
So what are we actually dealing with here? The combination of a calm, domestic presence moving objects, a male voice issuing mundane commands, and what sounds like a child's laughter points towards something layered, possibly multiple energies occupying the same space. In paranormal theory, a location that accumulates this kind of varied activity often acts as an anchor point, drawing in different residual imprints over time. But the fact that the son's camera cut out precisely during that giggle suggests something more intelligent than residual, something that's not just replaying the past, Something that's aware of the cameras, aware of the family, and apparently fully settled in. So, what do you think? Is this family sharing their home with leftover echoes of the past? Or is something far more intentional making itself comfortable in their house? In this next clip, Joe's mum told him back in 2019 that she was fighting demons in her house. And look, most of us would do exactly what Joe did, which is smile, nod, and quietly wonder if mum needs a vacation. But she wasn't asking him to take her word for it. She sent him footage, and whatever is in that video is very difficult to explain away. Up in the top right corner of the frame, there's a dark shape descending from the ceiling, not drifting, not floating, but coming down with a kind of slow, deliberate intention. Then she pans the camera away, and when she brings it back, it's gone, clean, like it was never there. But just when you're ready to chalk it up to a shadow or a trick of the light, it comes back.
In 2019, my mom said she was fighting demons in her apartment. I didn't believe her. She sent me video proof. Now someone tell me what in the grudge shit was going on here. I put picture at end of video, pause it, turn phone upside down and zoom in.
That reappearance is the detail that kills every rational explanation. Shadows don't leave and come back. Lens flares don't take a break and return on cue. Whatever this is, it's moving with awareness. In demonology, entities that descend from above, rather than emerge from corners or doorways, are considered particularly aggressive. They aren't wandering, they're approaching. The fact that Joe's mum used the word fighting and not experiencing tells you everything about what living in that house actually felt like. So, what do you think? Residual energy, or something that came there with a purpose? This next clip was posted by a frightened mother, and you'll understand why the moment you watch it. But before you do, here's what you need to know. The little girl had already told her mom that someone was in the bedroom before any of this was recorded. Not something, someone. Specific enough that she grabbed her mum by the arm and asked her not to go in, not to open the door, not to even get close. What you're about to watch isn't a child being dramatic about the dark or spiraling over nothing. This is a little girl who has seen something, who knows exactly what she saw, and who is not willing, under any circumstances, to let her mother walk back into that room.
Blakey, you okay?
There's nothing you can do or say to change that. I love you.
Do you want me to go open the door? Why? No?
Sucks for you.
Okay. Okay, I'm honestly freaking the fuck out and I don't know what to do. Just a couple minutes ago, I got up and I closed my door because she kept pointing to my room saying, Mommy, Mommy, someone's over there.
Yes, but
And she was terrified. She was terrified. Of course, freaking me out. So I went over there and she just said, no, Mommy, come here, Mommy, sit, Mommy, don't go over there. And so I called the dog and I closed the motherfucking door. And as you can see, dude, she's still terrified. She's still terrified. She doesn't want me going over there. She doesn't want me to open the door.
one thing I could find that wasn't expired.
Dude, I'm terrified.
The mom tries to reason with her, ask if she can just go open the door, keep it quick, nothing to worry about, and the answer is a firm, unwavering no. The kind of no that doesn't come from imagination, it comes from certainty. From a child who has already made up her mind about what's in there and doesn't understand why the adults around her aren't listening. But that was only the beginning of what this family captured that night, because eventually the mum does what every parent torn between protecting their child and finding a rational explanation has to do. She gets up. She tells her daughter she's going to check the room, keeps her voice steady and calm the way parents do when they're trying hard not to transfer their own fear onto their kid. And the little girl's response is immediate. She hides her face. And then she starts to cry. The kind of crying that comes from genuine terror, from watching someone you love walk towards something you know is there and being completely powerless to stop them.
Blakey, Mommy's gonna go open the door, okay? I'll be right back. It's okay. I'll be right back. And now she's hiding her face. Dude, what the fuck? It's okay, baby. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, tell me I'm not... What do I do?
Now here's what you can't explain away. There is a belief that runs through almost every culture that has ever documented paranormal encounters, that children, particularly young ones, exist in a state of perception that adults lost somewhere along the way. That in growing up, in learning to categorize and rationalize and explain the world, we close off something we were born with. And that what looks like an overactive imagination in a frightened child is sometimes something else entirely. A clarity that the adults around them simply no longer have the equipment to access. Children that age don't sustain manufactured fear. They move on, get distracted, and forget. But this little girl didn't forget. Hours later, she still wouldn't let her mum anywhere near that room. A room she normally runs into without a second thought. Whatever she saw in there, it left a mark. So what do you think? Was there something in that room that only she could see? Or is this a case of a child's instincts picking up on something the rest of us have long since lost the ability to feel? In this next clip, we're stepping inside Willard Library in Evansville, Indiana, one of the oldest public libraries in the state, built in 1885, and by most accounts, never fully emptied of its original occupants. The Stillroom Society, a group dedicated to investigating real hauntings and unexplained encounters, brought their equipment here on January 17th, 2026, and what they captured is exactly the kind of thing that makes a location's reputation stick. The library's most famous resident is known as the Grey Lady, an apparition that staff and visitors have been reporting for decades, wandering the corridors, triggering cold spots, flickering lights, and sending books off shelves with no one nearby to explain it. She's become so embedded in the identity of this place that people plan trips specifically hoping to cross her path.
I can hear you back there. Why don't you show yourself to me? I know this is your home, and I mean you no disrespect. I'm just curious about you, like why you're here and who you are. My name's Missy. I'd love to know more about you.
Now here's what makes Willard different from your standard allegedly haunted building. This isn't a location that earned its reputation from one dramatic incident and a few embellished retellings. The activity here has been consistent, documented, and reported independently by people who had no idea others had experienced the exact same things before them. That's the detail that separates a legend from something that actually warrants investigation. Cold spots in fixed locations, lights responding to no electrical fault, books that don't just fall, they fall from locked cases. The Grey Lady isn't a story someone made up to fill a slow news cycle. She's a pattern, and the Stillroom Society didn't have to wait long for the library to remind them why they came. The building is completely empty during the second part of this footage. No staff, no visitors, no one moving through those corridors, and yet the cameras pick up sounds that have no business being there. Knocks, shuffling, the kind of audio that your brain immediately tries to assign a source to and comes up empty every single time.
If you peek out, I'll be able to see you.
We're up in the genealogy part of the library, and
What's significant here isn't just the sounds themselves, it's the consistency of where they're coming from and the fact that they respond to the investigator's presence. A truly empty building doesn't generate directional noise. When a location this old starts producing that kind of audio with no physical source attached, you're likely dealing with residual energy so deeply embedded in the architecture that it practically has its own schedule. Over 140 years of footsteps, whispered conversations, and human emotion soaked into the walls and the floors. Some locations don't just hold history, they replay it. So what do you think? Is the Grey Lady still making her rounds through the stacks, or is Willard Library simply too old and too full of the past to ever really go quiet? The following video you're about to watch was taken off the security camera of a daycare, and what happens on this day was a visceral display of a child's instinctive fear that has since left the staff questioning the safety of their space. Children are often dismissed for having overactive imaginations, but the reaction of the young boy in this footage suggests he was responding to a very real threat. As he plays alone in the back room, he suddenly bolts toward the main area, his screams indicating a level of terror that goes beyond a simple jump scare. His guardian immediately rushes in to find the source of the disturbance, but the room appears empty. While she's there, the entity makes its presence undeniably known in the area where the kids are playing.
Were you in there? Were you in there?
No.
Who knocked this over? Who knocked this over?
Maybe it was just air.
While the adult is searching for an intruder, a heavy plastic playhouse is violently flipped over by an unseen force. This requires significant kinetic mass, far beyond what a simple draft or unbalanced toy could achieve. But the most unsettling detail is what many viewers, and eventually the staff, spotted upon reviewing the playback. If you look closely at the white door frame just as the boy flees, you can see dark, finger-like appendages briefly gripping the top of the trim. It appears as though something was literally hanging over the doorway, watching the child escape. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the things children fear aren't just in their heads, they are actually waiting in the shadows. Seeking an explanation for this aggressive outburst, the Guardian returned to the now abandoned room to investigate a potential catalyst for the activity. Hoping to understand why the little boy was so terrified to even glance at the door, she highlights a specific piece of furniture that many paranormal researchers often warn against as a high-risk object. In the corner of the room sits a child-sized vanity with mirrors positioned in such a way that they directly face one another.
I wanted to quickly show you exactly what it was that was scaring the little kid that my mom was watching. So pretty much, so firstly we have the house, and obviously you guys saw that it fell, but the other thing I wanted to point out was that it's pretty hefty, so it really doesn't make any sense that it would just fall on its own like that. So that's just something I wanted to point out. And this is the room. The crazy thing about this is that there was like markings at the top of the entranceway of like the doorway, and I guess in the video you can see hands gripping onto the doorway. I don't really know what to make of that. I thought at first that it was like bugs or something like that, but it looked almost like two hands like gripping on the top, like leading into this room, just like. But the main thing, and the reason that the little boy was screaming, is actually in here. We have this covered up for a reason. Apparently, the little boy told my mom that he saw a face in these mirrors. We already found someone who's going to take it off our hands and pick it up off Facebook Marketplace, but we have been keeping this room off limits.
The boy claimed to have seen a face manifesting within the glass, a detail that aligns perfectly with long-standing occult folklore regarding infinity mirrors. In many spiritual traditions, placing mirrors in this exact position, where two mirrors are facing themselves, is believed to create a spiritual corridor or a portal, essentially thinning the veil between our world and the next. The infinite reflection is thought to act as a bridge, allowing entities from the periphery to step into our physical reality. Because of this, the daycare has declared the room off limits, but the physical violence we witnessed with the playhouse suggests that simply keeping the door shut might not be enough to contain what came through. Once a portal is established, the energy tends to anchor itself to the space. It's a sobering look at how a simple decorative choice might have invited an unwanted guest into a place meant for play. Recognizing that the situation was escalating, the staff made the difficult decision to remove the suspected source of the energy from the premises entirely. In an effort to restore peace to the daycare, they listed the vanity on Facebook Marketplace, being fully transparent with potential buyers about the strange history attached to the piece.
That we're going to keep the room closed off from the kiddos for now so they can play in the rest of the space. We actually are going to go ahead and get rid of the vanity. We put it on Facebook Marketplace. Obviously we told them like, hey, like, we think that this is responsible for some weird haunting stuff. They said they were fine with it, so I don't know. This is closed off for now, so the kids are just gonna stay here and not in there anymore until we get this figured out.
Despite the warnings, an urgent buyer came forward, claiming to be unbothered by the reported hauntings. This decision to offload the object highlights a common dilemma in paranormal cases. Does removing an anchored object truly end the activity, or does the entity remain attached to the location itself? The issue might be with the room's layout, rather than the vanity, as the environmental thinness created by the mirrors might persist even after they are gone. For now, the room remains gated and empty, a silent zone in a building that should be filled with laughter. The daycare staff is hopeful that once the vanity is hauled away, the hand at the top of the door frame and the shifting shadows will go with it. But as any seasoned investigator will tell you, some doors, once opened, are notoriously difficult to close, especially when they have been welcomed by a configuration that invites the unknown. While the staff waited for the buyer to arrive, the daycare remained in a state of high alert. The vanity was still positioned in the back room, serving as a silent, reflecting observer of the growing tension. However, any hopes that the entity would remain passive until the piece was removed were quickly shattered. In the following sequence, the security camera captures an event that defies the mechanical reality of the building. The door leading into the restricted room, which had been firmly latched shut to keep the children out, begins to swing open with a slow, deliberate motion. There are no drafts in the building strong enough to disengage a physical latch, yet the door moves as if pushed by a steady, invisible hand. The fact that the vanity remained in the room during this manifestation suggests a defensive posture from the entity, as if it were asserting its claim over the space before its anchor could be taken away. This kind of interaction is frequently reported in homes where a haunted object is about to be removed. The activity often spikes in intensity, becoming more overt and aggressive. It's as though the presence is no longer content with subtle hints and has moved into a phase of direct physical defiance, making it clear that it won't be ignored. As the tension continued to mount, the staff decided to use a common piece of children's equipment to monitor the room from a distance. One walkie-talkie was left in the back room alongside the vanity, while the other remained with the staff in the main daycare area. It was a simple experiment, but the results were anything but expected. Through the static of the walkie-talkie, a series of rhythmic, deliberate sounds began to emerge. These weren't just the random pops of interference. They sounded remarkably like heavy, measured footsteps, or perhaps a persistent tapping on a wooden surface. The regularity of the noise suggests a sentient source, something pacing the restricted room while the door remained shut. In paranormal investigations, this is a classic manifestation of an entity using communication devices to bridge the gap between the unseen and the audible. Since the other walkie-talkie was directly in the presence of the portal mirrors, it's theorized that the device was acting as a microphone for the activity occurring in that thinned reality. There's a specific irony in using such a brightly colored, cheerful toy to capture something so ominous. It reinforces the idea that this presence has fully integrated itself into the daycare's environment, utilizing whatever objects are at its disposal to signal its existence. The final confirmation of the room's energy came through a physical sweep. The Guardian carried the walkie-talkie through the daycare to determine if the interference was widespread or localized. As she moves between the main hallway and the threshold of the restricted room, the difference in auditory feedback is startling. Outside the room, the device is relatively quiet, but the second she steps into the space containing the vanity, the walkie-talkie erupts into a frantic, rhythmic clicking. It sounds remarkably like a Geiger counter hitting a radioactive hot zone. When she retreats, the noise vanishes. When she enters, it returns with aggressive speed. This localization is the definitive hallmark of an anchored haunting. It confirms that the entity's influence is tethered specifically to that square footage. Some commenters have suggested that the vanity didn't just bring the energy, it acted as the lightning rod that allowed it to strike. The Daycare has since moved the furniture and had the space cleansed, hoping that removing the portal would finally break the entity's grip on the building. Whether the Daycare is truly quiet now remains to be seen, but the physical evidence captured across these 6 clips tells a story of an uninvited guest that was very much at home. So, what do you think? Is the room finally empty, or did the vanity simply leave behind a permanent hole in the veil? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In this next clip, a routine night of monitoring a sleeping child turns into a parent's worst nightmare. Many families use nursery cameras for peace of mind, but for this household, the technology captured a physical interaction that defies a rational explanation. As the child sleeps soundly in their crib, pay close attention to the white charging cord and controller hanging off the edge of the nearby furniture. From the deep shadows beneath the crib, a small, pale, hand-like manifestation reaches out and distinctly grips the cord, pulling it downward with deliberate force. The child instantly stirs, as if sensing a presence in the immediate vicinity. In paranormal research, these partial manifestations are particularly chilling because they suggest an entity that has gathered enough energy to form physical appendages. The shape of the hand appears small, leading some to speculate it could be a child's spirit, but the aggressive nature of the movement has others fearing a more opportunistic presence. It is a stark reminder that even in the supposed safety of a nursery, we may not be as alone as we think. The activity in the home didn't stop with subtle tugs on a wire. The next day, the homeowners decided to take a more proactive approach after a series of unexplained events left them feeling uneasy in their own space. They set up an infrared camera to monitor the main living area while the entire family was out of the house, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever was causing the disturbances. What they captured instead was an auditory assault that suggests an intelligent and seemingly territorial presence. Amidst the normal background noise of the empty house, the silence is suddenly shattered by a massive, booming bang that sounds as if it's coming from right next to the camera lens. The force of the sound is so intense, it causes a visible distortion in the audio feed. But the most chilling part happens just seconds later. As the echoes of the bang fade, a clear, deliberate, and very human-sounding shh is heard, as if the entity is mocking the recording device, or perhaps hushing the house itself. Later in the same recording, the homeowners also captured the distinct sound of whistling and witnessed clothing hanging on a rack, moving on its own. This combination of physical manipulation and vocal mimicry is a hallmark of a high-energy haunting, where the entity is no longer hiding but actively engaging with the environment. For these residents, the shh was the final straw, a direct sign that whatever is in their home knows they are watching. Is this a spirit asserting its dominance over the home while the owners are away? Or is it trying to warn them of something even more malevolent lurking in the walls? In the following clip, we encounter a scenario that goes far beyond a typical residual haunting. When investigators assess a location, they don't just look for movement or sound. They pay very close attention to environmental and sensory changes. One of the most severe red flags you can experience in your home is olfactory, specifically the sudden, unexplained smell of sulfur or rotten eggs. In the paranormal world, that nasty smell usually isn't just bad plumbing. A lot of people believe it's the physical sign of something really dark and heavy entering our reality. When an entity like that steps into a room, it completely shifts the energy. Keep that in mind and keep your eyes glued to the wall right behind the couch.
Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck is that? Dude. Baby, what took you so long to answer? Dude, the house smells like literally like rotten egg. Like, it literally smells like you forgot to take the trash out or something. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but this shit, like, I'm literally feel like I'm about to puke. I was just taking a nap and the house smells disgusting. Yeah, I'll open the door. I don't know if that's gonna do much though. The door's open. I don't know. I need a fan or something. You need to get home and like air, like do something in here. Did you take the trash out? What the fuck, baby? The lights are fucking flickering now, dude. Baby, stop! What the fuck? Baby!
When an unseen force interacts with the physical world, the choice of what it manipulates tells you everything you need to know about its intentions. Knocking a cup off a table is a simple cry for attention, but deliberately targeting a symbol of faith and physically inverting it is a highly calculated act of mockery. Pulling off a manipulation like that requires a massive draw of raw energy, which perfectly explains the sudden electrical interference and flickering lights right before it happens. It serves a very specific, deeply sinister purpose. The entity isn't just trying to scare the occupants, it is launching a psychological attack designed to strip away their sense of spiritual protection and claim absolute dominance over the space. When things start smelling like decay and the symbols on your wall turn upside down, you aren't dealing with a restless ghost passing through. You are dealing with something deeply malevolent that is actively making itself at home. In the next clip, we see a perfectly normal family moment take a very strange turn. A mother and father are sitting on the floor, playing with their baby boy. The baby is laughing, and everything seems completely fine, but right in the middle of a giggle, he abruptly stops. The parents were actually so confused by his sudden change in behavior that they posted the video asking a genuine question. Did my son see a ghost? or have a seizure. This naturally sparked a huge debate in the comments. While some people suggested it looked like a brief absent seizure, others pointed out an environmental anomaly. As you watch, pay very close attention to the lighting in the room right before the baby's demeanor shifts.
It's so cute.
While a medical explanation is always the most logical place to start, a lot of viewers argued against it based on the visual evidence. First, the physical reaction doesn't entirely fit. Even while his face is frozen, his arms are still subtly moving, and the freeze lasts for just a fraction of a second before he snaps right back to normal. As several people pointed out, absent seizures don't typically resolve that instantaneously, but the detail that really makes people lean toward a paranormal explanation is the lighting. Just as one viewer noticed, right before the baby locks his eyes on the empty space, the brightness of the camera feed inexplicably surges. A medical episode happening inside a child's brain does not cause the external lighting in a room to fluctuate. That kind of sudden light anomaly is often associated with energy shifting in a room. The parents don't know what happened to their boy, but what do you think? This next clip was filmed in an empty grocery store. You see there is a very specific, deeply unsettling feeling that comes with working the graveyard shift in a massive empty building. Grocery stores are designed to be packed with people, light, and noise. So when you strip all of that away at 3 a.m., it turns into a maze of dead quiet aisles and harsh fluorescent lights. It becomes the perfect, isolated playground for something that doesn't belong. For a while, the overnight stalker who filmed this had been feeling like he wasn't actually alone in the store. He kept catching quick glimpses of a figure in a white shirt slipping around corners or ducking behind shelves just out of his direct line of sight. It's easy to try and brush that off as simple sleep deprivation. But when he walked out of the back room on this particular night, the entity decided to stop hiding in the periphery and make a very physical, undeniable introduction.
Alright, at work, alone, middle of the night. Look at that one sign. Swinging. What is up with that? Nothing else is moving. The one sign right there. What's up with that?
Skeptics will immediately try to blame the HVAC system kicking on or a draft from a loading dock door. But basic physics completely ruins that argument. If that was air current, the other identical signs would at least be swaying too. But they are not. They're dead still. That isolated, aggressive movement is completely unnatural. And the fact that the sign is hanging way too high up for a living person to physically reach just adds to the nightmare. That isn't a draft. That is the exact same figure in the white shirt he's been seeing for weeks, finally stepping out into the open and showing him how much physical power it actually has. What would you do if that were you? In this next clip, we are dealing with a situation that feels straight out of a horror movie. We've all heard stories about a random electronic toy going off in the middle of the night, usually just because of a dying battery or a weird glitch. But what this creator captured going on in her bedroom completely defies logic. For a while, she kept waking up to the sound of a very specific melody coming from her bedside lamp. But the terrifying part is how the lamp behaves. It doesn't just play randomly, it waits until she is fully asleep, and the exact second she physically gets up or moves around to check on it, the music dead stops. That kind of reaction isn't a mechanical error, that shows awareness. It knows when she's awake and asleep. If you listen closely, the song playing is Auld Lang Syne, the classic tune everyone sings at midnight on New Year's Eve. Hearing that tinny, cheerful melody echoing in a pitch-black bedroom while you're trying to sleep is unsettling enough on its own. Naturally, the comment section was flooded with people trying to rationalize it, mostly claiming it's just the sound of a musical microchip dying on a low battery. But here is the massive problem with that theory. The creator explicitly confirmed that the lamp is completely unplugged from the wall, and it doesn't even take batteries. There is literally zero physical power source connected to this object. If a device has absolutely no electricity running to it, it cannot produce sound. Unless, of course, something unseen in that room is providing its own energy to make it play. So, what do you think? I'll leave you to be the judge. In this next clip, what should have been an exciting fresh start in a new house immediately turns into a nightmare. He has just moved in and is completely alone in the house. He's standing in a dark hallway when the lights start to glitch out and the sliding door at the very end of the hall begins to move.
I was moving into my new house. I was alone and this happened. Good luck to me.
Notice the specific way that door closes. It isn't a smooth, continuous glide caused by a slanted floor or a heavy draft. It has a distinct start and stop motion, exactly like a physical hand is gripping the edge and carefully pulling it shut. He bravely walks down the hall, slides the door open, and finds absolutely nothing inside. It's definitely not the kind of welcoming committee you want to deal with on your first day in a new house. You might try to rationalize that first event and just go to work, hoping it was a weird, isolated fluke. But the second half of the video destroys any chance of a logical explanation. He comes home from his shift to find that exact same bedroom door actively opening and closing on its own. He works up the courage again to push through it and see what is waiting for him inside.
I came home from work. Something seemed strange. My lights were on and something weird happened. WTF is that thing? Somebody get me out of here.
The door moving is creepy enough, but finding that vintage clown doll sitting dead center on his bed takes it to a completely different level of terrifying. Remember, he lives completely alone and absolutely did not put that doll there. In paranormal research, objects like old dolls are often viewed as trigger objects, items that can hold significant residual energy or even act as an anchor for an entity. Physically transporting an object like that and placing it directly on where he sleeps while he was out of the house is a massive escalation. It's a very clear, very sinister message from whatever is sharing that house with him. I was in your room and I am waiting for you. In this next clip, we see why setting up a security camera in your bedroom can sometimes give you a lot more than you bargained for. The person who filmed this was very clear in their caption. They made absolutely sure that the closet door with the mirror on it was securely shut and latched. Watch what happens to it. A latch door doesn't just pop open on its own because of a breeze or the house settling. It takes physical force to undo a latch and pull it open. But as creepy as that is, it's really just the warm-up. That same night, while the creator was actually in the room, fast asleep in bed out of the camera's view, their phone got a motion alert from the camera, and when they checked the footage the next day, they saw this. In the video, you can clearly see a distinct dark shadow moving across the wall and the door. The creator confirmed there was absolutely nothing moving inside or outside the house that could have cast a shadow like that. But the detail that really freaked them out is where the shadow ends up. Toward the end of the clip, the dark shape stops and just hovers right at the foot of the bed, lingering exactly where they were sleeping. It's one thing for an entity to mess with your closet doors while you're out of the room, but standing over you in the dark while you are completely vulnerable and asleep, that is a massive invasion of privacy and honestly, a great reason to pack your bags. What would you do if you experienced something like this? This next clip presents a very unsettling dynamic. When we see grainy baby monitor footage recorded at 3 a.m., we naturally brace ourselves for something terrifying. But what happens when the entity lurking in your child's nursery isn't there to scare them, but to protect them? The footage shows a baby awake and playing in his crib in the middle of the night. As he rocks backward, getting dangerously close to smacking the back of his head against the wooden rails, an unseen force intervenes. If you watch the baby's momentum, the physics simply don't make sense for a self-correction. As the mother pointed out in its post, he is a 23-pound toddler. A baby of that size and motor development cannot abruptly halt a backward fall and smoothly glide forward using just one hand. That movement was a clear, controlled, and gentle tug from an external source, pulling him safely away from the edge. What makes this even more fascinating and eerie is the established pattern. According to the family, this isn't an isolated incident. They regularly capture this kind of activity around the exact same time at night, and the presence behaves in a distinctly maternal way. It doesn't just catch him when he falls. It has also been documented carefully adjusting his blanket to keep him warm while he sleeps. In paranormal theory, this is often categorized as a guardian spirit, or perhaps a lingering familial energy. And while it is certainly comforting to know that the ghost in your house wants to keep your baby safe, it is still an incredibly tough reality to accept that an invisible entity is taking the night shift in your nursery. In the following clip you're about to watch, we check into one of the most notoriously haunted locations in the United States, the Jerome Grand Hotel in Arizona. A mother and her daughters are just trying to settle down and get some sleep, but the room clearly has other plans. The creepy activity starts subtly, with the floor lights suddenly flicking on entirely by themselves. But keep your eyes on the bed and watch their reactions, because the real terror in this video happens where the camera can't quite see. According to the poster of the video, right after the lights malfunctioned, they felt the mattress physically sink as someone or something crawled into bed right next to them.
Stop! What? Jesus, it's a What is it? Oh my God, Diane! Mom's like went on two over there by the front door. Did you feel the bed move? I feel the bed move.
When you dive into the history of the location, this terrifying encounter actually makes a lot of sense. The Jerome Grand Hotel wasn't originally a hotel at all. It was built as the United Verdi Hospital in the 1920s, a place that saw immense suffering and countless deaths. In paranormal research, feeling a heavy weight or the sensation of someone getting into bed with you is a classic tactile manifestation. Given the building's dark history, investigators often theorize that these are the restless spirits of former patients who are trapped in a residual loop, confused, and still trying to climb into a hospital bed. However, skeptics often dismiss these physical sensations as hypnagogic hallucinations, sensory tricks the brain plays when transitioning into sleep, combined with the power of suggestion in a famously spooky hotel. One thing we know for sure is that at the end, whatever they felt on that mattress sent them running in pure terror. And there were people in the comments that reported a similar occurrence at that same place. So what do you think? Was a restless spirit trying to share their room, or was it just a trick of the mind and some faulty wiring? I'll leave you to be the judge. In this next clip, we see a terrifying escalation of events that starts with one of the most unsettling sounds you can hear in an empty house, a little girl crying. The guy filming this hears the sobbing echoing from his downstairs bathroom. Phone in hand, he cautiously goes to investigate, only to find the bathroom light aggressively flickering on and off from beneath the doorframe. Wanting to know what he's dealing with before going in, he drops to the floor to peek through the gap. That's when he clearly sees a pair of little legs wearing shoes standing right on the other side. He immediately tries the handle, but the door is completely jammed shut. Watch what happens when the door finally gives way, and listen closely to the audio the second he steps back out into the hallway.
¿Quién eres?
Algo abrió la puerta. Vi sus pies. Ya me voy.
In the world of paranormal investigation, this sequence of events is a massive red flag. The sound of a crying child is a textbook lure, a manipulative tactic used by malevolent entities to trigger your natural human instinct to help. The flickering lights indicate a massive drain on the surrounding electromagnetic field, giving the entity the energy it needs to create a solid physical manifestation, like the legs and shoes he saw under the door. But the most terrifying part is the immediate shift in energy. The second he realizes the bathroom is completely empty, the illusion drops. That deep, guttural growl coming from the living room is the entity dropping the little girl act and revealing its true demonic nature. So what exactly do you think that is? And what would you do if something like this happened in your house? This next clip shows exactly why bringing certain vintage toys into your home is always a massive gamble, especially when you have a busy household. The mother filming this video mentions in her caption that it's just a normal, chaotic morning, and you can even hear her kids being loud in the background. But up on top of her cabinet, sitting in the shadows behind a Nintendo Switch box, is a doll that has been acting up all morning. She says it had been randomly making little sounds and playing its music before stopping. She finally decided to pull out her camera to see if she could catch it in the act, and she got exactly what she was looking for. Keep your eyes locked on the face of that doll in the background.
I think I can see it on here. Hold on. Now it's stopped. Oh, wait, there it is. See if she moves. There it is.
Seeing an inanimate object move is one thing, but seeing a doll physically turn its head to look directly at the person filming is a whole different level of terrifying. In paranormal research, haunted dolls are a major focal point. Entities, Both human spirits and demonic attachments often bind themselves to human-like vessels. It gives them a physical anchor in our world, a face, and a body to manipulate. The fact that it was playing its music to get her attention, and then deliberately turned to face her the second she started recording, shows an incredibly high level of intelligent awareness. It knew it was being watched, and it wanted to look right back. When you have an actively haunted, physically moving object in a house full of energetic children who are basically giant batteries for paranormal entities, you are sitting on a ticking time bomb. If a doll turned its head to look at you in your own living room, are you throwing the doll out, or are you just moving out of the house entirely? In this next clip, the guy filming is taking his Cybertruck for a slow drive through a completely empty cemetery in the middle of the day. But as he glances down at his infotainment screen, the vehicle's collision avoidance system suddenly starts flagging multiple pedestrians walking right alongside the truck. The terrifying part, when he looks out the windshield and pans the camera around, there isn't a single living soul in sight.
I just want y'all to say, I'm at a, look where we at, y'all. There's nobody outside. I believe God is real. This is all proof to me. Look at this. Look at this, all the people here. There's nobody here. Crazy. Crazy.
When you dive into the technology behind these vehicles, this footage gets incredibly eerie. Companies like Tesla have built highly advanced camera-based vision systems and sensors designed to detect mass, depth, and human shapes to prevent accidents. Because these sensors are constantly processing environmental data that the naked human eye might completely miss, some modern paranormal investigators believe and have actually started using these cars as massive, rolling, ghost detecting tools. People like this believe that the system isn't just glitching out on a single oddly shaped tombstone in that clip. It is actively tracking multiple distinct human-shaped figures moving together in a group alongside the road. But of course, there are those who believe that it's just a software glitch. What do you think? This next clip shows a man that believes he is being targeted by brujeria. Brujeria is a complex form of witchcraft that comes from Latin American traditions, and while it has roots in healing and protection, the darker side often involves a trabajo, a targeted curse that actively binds a malevolent spirit to a specific person to drain their energy, cause intense paranoia, and induce absolute terror. The footage starts around 11 p.m. He wakes up to find his bedroom door inexplicably wide open, and he points out that he can clearly hear the downstairs TV playing all by itself. As he pans his camera toward the dark hallway, he spots a shadowy figure just standing there, watching him. Fast forward 5 hours later, he had managed to fall back asleep, but was suddenly woken up by one of his dogs. He grabs his camera, looks toward the open door, and realizes the nightmare isn't over. The entity is still standing right there in the dark. What out for the door opening before he completely lost it?
Son las 11 de la noche, más o menos. Me dormí desde las 6 de la tarde. Ya hasta se me hizo tarde para alcanzar la tienda. Y noté que la puerta está abierta, perdón. Todavía ando con un poco de sueño. Ahí anda Frijol y Chorizo está comiendo sus croquetitas. Es ese ruido. El punto es que se escucha que la tele de abajo está prendida. No sé si se alcanza a escuchar. Es que Chorizo comiendo hace mucho ruido. Y no sé si me quieran creer o no, pero como que veo que hay alguien ahí parado. Se los juro que como que veo que hay alguien ahí parado. Ah, no, yo chorizo ya vi. Ah, no, chorizo. Son las 2 de la mañana. Pues estaba dormido, me despertaron uno de mis perros. Y está la puerta abierta, pero hay algo ahí. No sé si se alcanza a ver como si estuviera ahí una silueta. Es que, a ver, déjeme cambiar la cámara a ver si se ve mejor. A ver... Ahí se ve... Sí, ahí se ve mejor. No sé si se alcanza a notar. Y es que la luz está ahí al ladito. Y acá también están mis linternas. No me quiero parar ni acercar ahí. Pero hay algo ahí parado. No sé si se alcanza a notar con la cámara. Hay algo ahí parado, no sé qué pedo. No sé qué pedo, pero hay algo ahí parado. No me quiero la neta ni acercar, pero la puerta la estaba... ¿Qué pedo? ¡No, se mamó!
The sheer panic in his voice as he realizes he is trapped in his own bedroom is incredibly unsettling. When you look at this through the lens of Dark Brujeria, this isn't just a random haunted house scenario. It's a highly targeted spiritual attack. This entity's entire purpose is to harvest his fear. The fact that it stood in his doorway for hours, basically waiting for him to wake up, is a textbook psychological tactic designed to break him down. And when it finally lunges at him with that terrifying speed at the end, it crosses the line from a creepy shadow into a highly aggressive physical threat. In this next clip, we step away from the terrifying and look at an encounter that is both heartbreaking and incredibly beautiful. The footage starts with a deeply touching moment between an elderly, sick woman and her husband, who is showing her an incredible amount of love, comfort, and devotion while she rests. Their daughter is the one recording this sweet interaction. But before you watch the clip, there is a heavy, spiritual backstory happening behind the scenes that you need to know. The mother has been telling her family that she has started seeing her younger daughter, who tragically passed away in 2017, standing in the room. On top of that, she claims she has been hearing the voice of her own late mother.
And, oh wow. Oh.
You've been alright, boy.
And between the radiation and the chemo medicine I'm taking at night, they are kicking my butt. I am so wore out. I feel like I worked 5 double shifts. And I remember working 5 double shifts at General Electric. I am so wore out. And I love you.
I love you.
I love you. You don't know how much I love you.
I love you. You don't know how much you do.
Oh, good.
Here, Tina. Come get my ring.
Well, your rings are already off, Mama.
Yeah,
Jenny.
those rings are right here, too.
Jenny has them.
I've got 6.
Jenny has them.
Oh.
Let me give that her water.
Okay, I mean, you don't need to have them on because they can fall off and fall on the floor and get sucked up in the vacuum cleaner or something, so...
As her condition progressed, the daughter kept a camera running in the bedroom to monitor her. Late at night, the mother is resting quietly in the dark when she suddenly speaks into the seemingly empty room, softly saying, "Okay," as if she is actively responding to someone only she can see. Listen very carefully to the audio immediately after she speaks.
Okay.
Hearing a faint, distinct voice whisper "Mama" right after she agrees to whatever is being asked is incredibly profound. In the medical and hospice communities, this phenomenon is widely documented as a deathbed vision. As people near the end of their lives, their awareness often seems to shift, and they frequently report seeing, hearing, and speaking with family members who have already passed on. While skeptics might argue the whispered audio is just pareidolia, a heavy breath, or background noise, the timing and the history of her visions make it undeniably powerful. Sadly, the mother passed away just a few days after this footage was recorded. But whether that whisper was a true EVP, electronic voice phenomenon of her younger daughter, or just a trick of the microphone, it brings an immense amount of peace to the family. It is a deeply comforting thought to believe that when it is finally our time to leave this physical world, the loved ones we've missed for years are standing right there waiting to welcome us home. In this clip you're about to watch, we are stepping onto the grounds of a property that should be a quiet horse farm, but has recently become the center of a series of unexplainable environmental anomalies. This footage comes from a creator known as My Little Equine, whose TikTok feed is normally a peaceful sanctuary for horse lovers. However, she's recently been forced to document a disturbing shift in the atmosphere of her family's compound, a shift that began with the most sensitive residents of the farm. The first red flag comes from the behavior of her dog, Josie. In the world of paranormal research, animals are often considered intuitive barometers because they possess a sensory range that far exceeds our own, especially when it comes to detecting fluctuations in electromagnetic fields. In this first piece of evidence, Josie is captured in a state of high alert that reportedly lasted for hours.
So, I'm recording this just in the off chance that no one believes me. Maybe I can catch it. And by the way, I have a freaking cemetery in my front yard, which probably doesn't help my cause, but I was just inside. I'm by myself with my dog. She's in that room upstairs. You can literally hear her working from here. Freaked out. Josie? Josie? Yeah, she's just been staring at that, and then she started barking, and she growled, and when she growled, I kind of like booked it. I don't really know, like, that's usually like her stance while she's waiting for me to come home, and I'm just like, is she waiting for someone to walk out of that closet? Like,
As you can see, Josie isn't just barking at a random noise or a passing critter. She is locked onto a specific closet, growling and pacing with a level of intensity that suggests a physical threat is lurking just behind the door. The creator eventually worked up the nerve to check the closet herself, and while that footage isn't shown here, she confirmed that it was completely empty. No intruders, no pests, just a void that her dog refused to ignore. When a dog growls at an empty space for an extended period, it suggests a localized, persistent presence that is actively radiating an energy the animal finds threatening. There's a private family cemetery located right on the grounds that hold her own grandparents. While a private burial ground is a deeply personal and sacred space, in the world of the supernatural, these sites can act as permanent anchors for spiritual energy. She believes the weird things she's been noticing are directly tied to the presence of this cemetery. This leads us into the second, and arguably more bizarre, development on the property. In April 2025, a group of cows from a neighboring area began to show up at the compound every single day, and their behavior was anything but routine.
see, this is what I'm talking about. They literally just come and hang out here all the time now. It's a newer development. Like, why? They just kind of come and really breathe around this area. And they just kind of will freeze and won't move. So, yeah. What's up?
Instead of grazing or wandering as cattle usually do, these cows gather in a tight, deliberate formation directly around the cemetery. They don't just stand there, they freeze, remaining perfectly still for long periods while emitting strange, low-frequency noises that the creator describes as unlike anything she's heard from cattle before. In the comments, many viewers have dubbed this summoning behavior. From a grounded perspective, you could argue that the cows are simply attracted to a specific type of grass or a mineral deposit near the fresh dirt of the graves. However, the logic pivot here is the ritualistic nature of the gathering. Herd animals typically only cluster like this when they are under threat from a predator, yet there is no predator in sight. They are focused entirely on the burial site. In many cultures, cattle are seen as highly spiritual animals, capable of sensing thin places, areas where the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds is particularly porous. The escalation on the compound doesn't just affect the family and their livestock, it has begun to impact outsiders who step onto the property. In this next clip, the atmosphere at the farm reaches a peak of tension during a routine food delivery. It's late at night, and as the delivery driver pulls into the driveway, the cows have returned, but their behavior has taken on a much darker, more aggressive tone under the cover of darkness.
Oh my god. Hi.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. See, this is what I'm talking about. Every freaking night, like even at night, they even come and hang out here, and they just like stand and like. Are you for real right now?
The cows are once again gathered in a perfect, eerie circle around the family cemetery. But this time, they aren't just standing in a frozen vigil, they are emitting guttural, distorted vocalizations that sound nothing like a typical herd. The delivery driver was so scared by the sight and the sound of the animals that he was too terrified to walk back to his car alone, forcing the creator to walk with him to ensure he made it out safely. Skeptics often claim that livestock might huddle together for warmth or safety, but animal behaviorists who weighed in on the footage noted that cows simply do not sound like this. The frequency of the moaning is unnaturally low and rhythmic. In paranormal theory, this is often described as infrasound manipulation. Some believe that high-intensity hauntings or thin places can generate low-frequency waves that physically affect the vocal cords of animals, causing them to emit sounds that are completely outside their natural range. This leads us into the fourth piece of evidence, where the activity seems to have moved from the interior of the house directly to the source of the unrest. Earlier, we saw Josie obsessed with a closet inside the home, but as the summoning behavior of the cows continued at the grave sites, Josie's focus shifted.
Josie. Josie, what's going on?
The dog is no longer barking at the house. She is now standing at the edge of the cemetery, completely still, staring into the empty space between the crosses. She isn't growling anymore. She is in a state of hyperfixation. In the study of hauntings, this transition is significant. It suggests that the entity or energy that was once visiting the house has now fully manifested at its anchor point, the cemetery. Dogs are known to track movement that the human eye can't perceive, and Josie's silent, intense stare suggests she is watching something move through the graveyard, something that the cows are also acknowledging with their nightly rituals. This final piece of evidence brings the entire timeline into a terrifying focus. While we have seen the animals reacting to an invisible force for weeks, the creator discovered that her security system actually captured the entity itself on the same day the delivery man came to her house. In paranormal theory, shadow people are often described as dense, interdimensional entities that lack a human form but possess a distinct, heavy mass. The fact that it triggered a physical motion sensor is the ultimate proof. A camera glitch or a trick of the light doesn't trip a sensor, a physical body does. This suggests that the summoning behavior we saw from the cows wasn't just a strange animal quirk. They were acknowledging the arrival of a manifestation that has now gained enough physical density to interact with the property's security system. When you tie this back to the private family cemetery, a more creative, albeit darker, picture begins to emerge. In some folklore, certain burial sites are guarded by grims or watchers, entities that are either tethered to the souls of the deceased or drawn to the site of the dead to act as a territorial boundary. This shadow figure seems to be the source of the property-wide unrest. It started in the closet, moved to the graves, and is now patrolling the grounds. The animals aren't just acting weird, they are reacting to a shift in the hierarchy of the land. So, what do you think? Is this a guardian spirit protecting the ancestors, or something much more ancient that has claimed the cemetery as its own? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In this next clip, we witness what happens when a subtle haunting rapidly escalates into a full-blown, violent infestation. Most people set up indoor security cameras to give themselves a little peace of mind while they're away from home. But for homeowner Troy Legault, those cameras ended up capturing the exact opposite of peace. The timeline of the activity in this house is what makes it so deeply unsettling. It shows a clear progression of an entity testing its boundaries and gaining strength. This first clip begins with a false sense of security, showing the dining room while the house is completely empty. Out of nowhere, the ceiling fan suddenly turns itself on, spinning with incredible speed before abruptly stopping. If you watch the light attached to the fan, it actually switches on and off exactly as the blades come to a halt, which is a massive red flag for a deliberate manipulation of the electrical current.
What is going on in my house when I'm not home?
As if the fan wasn't enough, look at the background of the shot. A closet door slowly creaks open and clicks shut entirely on its own, repeating the motion several times. If you listen closely to the raw audio, you can even hear a faint growling and a rhythmic knocking coming from that area. In paranormal research, entities often start with these smaller, glitchy movements to test the waters and build up kinetic energy. Whatever invaded Troy's home quickly realized it was being watched, and the physical manifestations only grew stronger from there. The next day, that same closet door continued to act up, but the entity began interacting with much heavier objects to prove its presence.
It's happening again.
You can see the tablecloth being noticeably tugged by an invisible force, but the real kicker is the heavy wooden dining bench. It gets dragged across the floor with a loud, jarring scrape, almost as if whatever that entity is wanted to pull the bench into the closet. Moving solid wood takes a significant amount of energy, proving that this is no longer just a passive, residual spirit replaying a past event. This is an active, intelligent presence. On a separate day, the focus shifts from empty rooms to the people living inside them. Troy's son is just trying to distract himself and regain some sense of normalcy by playing video games. But the entity decides to make it completely clear that the family is no longer welcome there. As objects start shifting and moving around him once again, the boy finally reaches his breaking point. He drops his controller and gets the hell out of there, realizing that even in the middle of a gaming session, he's being hunted.
Daddy? Daddy, it's happening again. Daddy? Daddy? I don't like this. Daddy, I don't like this. Daddy?
While moving furniture is terrifying, coming face to face with the entity is a completely different level of nightmare. In this next piece of evidence, the man's son is hanging out in his room when that same problematic closet door slowly swings open. But this time, it isn't just an invisible force. According to the family, the son actually saw a distinct, terrifying face peering back at him from the pitch black space inside the closet. His blood-curdling scream as he bolts downstairs in absolute terror tells you everything you need to know about what was looking at him from the dark.
Ah! Hello? Mama! Mama!
At this point, the house is an absolute powder keg. When you look at this specific pattern of escalation, it raises a terrifying question. What exactly is living in this home? Activity that starts with electrical interference and subtle movements before rapidly evolving into throwing heavy furniture usually points to a poltergeist. Poltergeists are notoriously noisy and destructive, often feeding off the raw emotional energy and stress of the people living in the home, especially teenagers, who act like a biological battery for the activity. However, there is a logic pivot here that points to something much more sinister. Manifesting a physical face to intentionally terrify a child is a deeply predatory behavior. Many investigators would look at this timeline and classify it as a demonic infestation rather than a simple haunting. These dark entities systematically break down a family's psychological state. They start by making you question your sanity with moving objects, exhaust you with fear, and then finally reveal themselves to feed off the resulting peak terror. Is this a chaotic poltergeist feeding off the stress of the household? Or has Troy Legault's home become a site of an active, intelligent, demonic infestation? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In the following clip you're about to watch, we get a chilling look at why healthcare workers often joke about avoiding certain shifts. This footage was captured by Camila Torres, a nurse working at a nursing home, back in 2019 when a resident asked her to record a cleansing of what the staff called the death room. This specific room was notorious. Patients placed there would have sudden medical episodes or pass away, and the heavy cold energy was so intense that the facility eventually stopped placing patients inside it altogether. As the resident performs her prayer and wafts her hands outside the doorway, pay close attention to the rosary hanging on her hand.
Heavenly Father, I ask for your divine presence to fill this space. May your light shine brightly through every room, cleansing this home of any negativity, fear, or unrest. Let peace dwell in every corner, and love be the foundation of every wall. Bless this home with your protection, surrounding it with your angels, and shielding it from harm and evil. May every door be a passage to your grace, and every window open to your blessings. In Jesus' name.
Skeptics might write this off as a simple draft from a nearby vent, but a heavy beaded rosary doesn't just flutter like a piece of paper, it physically jumps as if tugged by an invisible hand. In paranormal theory, religious artifacts are often focal points for spiritual energy, and an entity occupying a space associated with so much trauma would naturally react aggressively to a cleansing. When a room accumulates so much transition and grief, it can easily become a magnet for something far more active that doesn't want to be evicted. But what do you think happened here? I'll leave you to be the judge. This next clip captures what should have been a warm, wholesome family gathering. A father is sitting on the couch playing the guitar while his family happily sings along. It's a beautiful, intimate moment, but if you look carefully at the open window just behind his shoulder, you'll catch a detail that completely ruins the cozy vibe. In the upper portion of the dark window frame, a pale, face-like shape appears to peek into the room, silently observing the performance before vanishing back into the pitch-black night.
Cuando me miraba esos tus ojos, cuando me miraba esos tus ojos, yo pues pensaba que me querías, yo pues pensaba que me amabas. Viene desde Perú acá, Chile, esos tus ojos tienen la culpa, esos tus ojos tienen la culpa de haberme mirado sin conocernos bien, de haberme mirado sin conocernos bien. Cuando me besaban esos tus labios, cuando me besaron esos tus labios, yo pues pensaba que tú me amabas, yo pues pensaba
The chilling footage has left many convinced of its supernatural origin, with the creator herself agreeing, stating, "Si es un fantasma," which translates to, "Yes, it is a ghost." So, what exactly are we looking at, and why is it lurking there? In paranormal theory, spirits are often drawn to high vibration, positive human energy like music, laughter, and family bonding. Rather than a malicious presence, this could be an earthbound spirit, perhaps a deceased relative or a former occupant of the home, attracted to the warmth of the song. It appears to be acting as a silent spectator, temporarily drawing enough kinetic energy from the group's collective joy to make its fleeting, pale form visible in the darkness, simply wanting to feel a connection to the living world once again. So, what do you think? Was this a loving ancestor pausing to enjoy a family melody, or is something more sinister watching from the shadows of the backyard? In this next clip, we follow the story of a mother named Sam, who for a long time had a persistent, unsettling feeling that she was being watched in her own home. She could never quite put her finger on what was causing the dread, until she accidentally recorded her twin boys playing and watched the footage back. While filming her toddlers running into a bedroom, a distinct, disembodied woman's voice can be heard over the audio, whispering a chilling, "Shh, quiet."
¿Qué pasó? ¿Quién está en el cuarto?
Sam confirmed she was completely alone in the house with only her young children at the time, leaving no logical explanation for who could have whispered the warning. In paranormal research, this is a classic example of an electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP. Entities often draw upon the high vibration, chaotic kinetic energy of playing children to manipulate the airwaves and make themselves heard. But why tell the boys to be quiet? Some investigators suggest that domestic spirits can become highly territorial, occasionally falling back into old disciplinary habits, as if they still run the household. Others fear a more deceptive entity, trying to hush the kids to avoid being fully discovered by the mother. Was this the voice of a lingering, spectral guardian watching over the boys? Or is there a silent tenant in this home trying to keep its presence a secret? I'll let you be the judge. In this next clip, we witness what happens when a haunting refuses to remain isolated to just one member of a household. This footage was uploaded by a terrified husband, but the camera is actually being held by his wife. Just a few days prior, he had a terrifying run-in with what he calls a knocking ghost while he was home alone. And then 3 later, the exact same phenomenon returned, proving that whatever is inhabiting their property has no intention of leaving. The activity actually began before she even had a chance to grab her phone, which is why the family dogs are already shown incredibly on edge, growling and pacing anxiously near the door. Realizing that the entity had returned, she quickly started recording to capture undeniable proof.
Okay, it just happened again and the dogs are freaked out. Get it. Daisy, come over here. Get it. You be right there. Something opens that fucking door, you need to get him. Oh my god, I don't know if it's gonna happen again. It just fucking happened again. Move, 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 move! There's fucking nobody there! The dog stopped fucking barking now. Davey's freaking the fuck out by the door though. What is it? There's nobody out there. door anymore.
As you can hear, she barely has time to set the scene before a series of violent, heavy knocks rattle the door leading outside, sending the dogs into a barking frenzy. The sheer force of the bangs suggests a physical presence right on the other side of the glass, yet the porch is completely empty. Whatever was demanding to be let in was entirely unseen, but its ability to physically rattle the frame of the house is undeniable. It didn't end there. On a separate day, the husband captured another occurrence, proving that the disturbance wasn't just a fleeting one-time anomaly. The knocking has become a relentless daily ordeal for the couple, slowly wearing down their peace of mind in their own home. It seems to happen at any hour, completely unprovoked, turning their sanctuary into a psychological pressure cooker.
Here. Happens all the time.
As the heavy rhythmic knocks rattle the door once again, the husband immediately steps up to investigate, determined to find a logical explanation. He walks straight to the glass pane, slides the lock, and throws the door open to catch the culprit in the act. But just like before, the back porch is completely empty. There are no neighborhood pranksters sprinting away, and no physical explanation for the loud pounding that occurred just a second prior. The absolute dead stillness of the yard only makes the noise more unsettling, proving that whatever is demanding to be let in doesn't need a physical body to make its presence felt. It is a bold, broad daylight manifestation that shows this entity is actively testing its boundaries, mocking their attempts to secure the home. But the true source of this terror may lie just beyond the porch, hidden in the thick tree line bordering the property. Desperate for answers, the husband decided to film the pitch black woods behind their house, sensing that something was watching them from the dark. If you look carefully into the shadows near the fence line, you'll see a tall, dark, human-like figure silently lurking among the trees, shifting slightly in the darkness. This unsettling discovery ties all of the family's terrifying experiences together. What if the violent knocking on the door wasn't an isolated trick, but a deliberate attempt by this forest-dwelling entity to gain entry into their home? In paranormal lore, entities that inhabit the woods, often referred to as elementals or territorial nature spirits, can become highly aggressive when humans encroach on their space. This shadow figure might be attempting to establish dominance, using the rhythmic knocking as a form of psychological warfare to break down the couple's sense of security. By wearing down their defenses, it feeds on the resulting fear and anxiety, gaining the energy it needs to manifest even closer to the house. So, what do you think? Is this a malevolent entity trying to claim the home for itself? Or is it a silent sentinel of the woods, warning the family that they are no longer welcome? In this next clip, we travel to the dense, ancient forests of the Appalachian Mountains, a region as famous for its rich natural beauty as it is for its deeply unsettling folklore. The homeowner, a local herbalist who frequently harvests plants and works closely with the surrounding wilderness, began noticing a strange, heavy shift in the atmosphere of her property. Her suspicions were confirmed during the day when her outdoor security camera captured a bizarre, high-speed anomaly in her backyard. If you look carefully at the area right next to the parked camper trailer, a small, pale streak of light shoots across the screen at an impossible velocity. While skeptics might try to write this off as a simple insect flying close to the lens, the trajectory, sudden acceleration, and sheer speed completely rule out a bug or a bird. It behaves like a highly concentrated orb of kinetic energy, darting with deliberate purpose. In paranormal lore, these fast-moving light anomalies are often thought to be scouts, elemental energies, or spiritual manifestations testing the boundaries of human habitats. For an herbalist who regularly interacts with the natural energy of the land, it's highly possible that her work has unwittingly drawn the curiosity of something ancient living deep within the mountain hollows. Determined to find out what was sharing their land, the couple began closely monitoring their backyard security feeds at night. It didn't take long for their vigilance to pay off, but the answer they got was far more terrifying than they ever bargained for. While watching the live feed, they spotted a chilling shape slowly moving through the pitch-black tree line. At first, her husband wonders if it's just a local coyote, but as the entity steps further into the illuminated clearing, the sheer horror of the situation sets in.
Okay, so alarms are going off and the rooster's going nuts. We caught some coyotes in the backyard. What is that?
It's probably that coyote.
Right there. What the heck?
Is that coyote?
No.
That's not a coyote. That's a fucking person.
Where's the dog? Well, you better go now.
What, man? What the fuck is that?
I don't know. The rooster's not too happy. Where's the dog? There's the dog. Why is she in her freaking pen? What the? Oh my god. Okay, so it came back. What the hell?
There's Lucy right there.
Yeah, but you see where it's standing?
Yeah, it's looking in the window at you.
It's out our window. What?
It's a good way to get shot in the face.
And the dog's just staring.
So why is the damn dog not barking?
Oh my god.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What? Alright, do.
Walking upright between the trees is an incredibly tall, pale, and spindly humanoid figure. The proportions are completely off for a normal human, exhibiting elongated limbs and a haunting, gaunt frame that moves with an eerie, calculated grace. The tension peaks when the couple realizes their dog is completely silent and missing from the frame, prompting a frantic realization that they are in immediate danger. What exactly is this creature, and why is it lurking in their yard? In Appalachian cryptid lore, sightings of these pale crawlers or forest-dwelling entities are shockingly common. These beings are believed to be ancient, reclusive dwellers of the deep woods and cave systems, highly sensitive to human presence. It's highly likely this entity was drawn to the property by the herbalist's active engagement with the surrounding forest, viewing her as an intruder in its territory, or perhaps as a source of curiosity. So, was this an ancient resident of the mountains, merely observing the homeowners, or is this pale figure hunting for a way inside? I'll leave you to be the judge. The clip you're about to watch captures a homeowner's descent into a living nightmare. What began as a peaceful evening at home quickly dissolved as he realized he wasn't nearly as alone as he thought. You can feel the tension the moment the video starts. He's standing in his living room, recording, because he started hearing these heavy, deliberate knocks echoing from his front door. Hoping it was just a late delivery or a confused neighbor, he grabs his camera and approaches the entryway to investigate. As he gets closer, the knocking actually gets faster and more insistent, almost as if whatever is out there knows he's approaching. He finally pulls the door open, fully expecting to confront someone on his porch, but he's met with absolutely nothing but the dead silence of the night. There is no one there, and nowhere for a prankster to hide that quickly.
So I thought Fawn and David were back. I just got out of the shower and I heard, well, it sounded like the door opening and closing, but oh my god, nobody's fucking here. And my cat is just staring at the fucking door. I know, messy room, I know. It's my sister's room. Which creeps me out for some reason. See, look at her. Stared over there at the fucking door. Fuck. Jinxies, you're my witness. You heard whatever's at the door, right? God, if cats could fucking talk. That thing too. Why are these fucking open? Ooh, I got the fucking chills again, dude. I gotta get dressed. I'm out of here, dude. Fuck that. I don't like Fawn's closet. It creeps me out. Fucking out of here.
In his caption for this video, the homeowner points out a detail that he didn't even notice until he watched the footage back. Pay close attention to the blinds on the window next to the door. As he walks up to the door, the blinds are clearly pulled shut. But seconds later, when he turns back around after finding the empty porch, the blinds are wide open and he closes them again, completely unaware that they had been closed just moments prior. In paranormal theory, this combination of events is highly indicative of an intelligent haunting. The rapid knocking is often seen as threshold testing, an entity trying to goad the homeowner into opening the door and essentially inviting them in. But the physical manipulation of the blinds is the real red flag here. It shows that the entity isn't just outside trying to get in, it's already inside the house, capable of physical manipulation and actively trying to disorient him. He thought he was looking for a prowler on the porch, but the real threat was standing right behind him. That chilling realization is likely what pushed him to start documenting every inch of his property. Seeking a bit of normalcy, or perhaps just trying to escape the heavy atmosphere of the living room, he retreats to the garage. He set up another camera to keep a watchful eye, but as he sits in a chair with his back to the closed garage door, scrolling on his phone, he is completely unaware of the physical activity starting to unfold directly behind him.
This moving shit. I fucking got that. Still fucking moving. There ain't no wind. Like this.
In paranormal investigations, a garage is often considered a liminal space, a threshold between the chaotic outside world and the safety of the home. When an entity begins to manipulate heavy objects in a liminal space, it's often a sign that it is gaining strength and attempting to establish dominance over the entire property. The fact that the entity is comfortable moving these items while he is actively sitting in the room suggests that it's no longer just trying to disorient him, it's trying to assert control. He might have thought he was just dealing with a few drafty rooms, but the activity in the garage proves the entity is making itself right at home, and that newly claimed territory quickly begins to expand, shrinking his remaining safe spaces. Later that night, the homeowner is barricaded in his bedroom, but the entity is no longer content with just moving boxes in the distance. He starts filming his closed bedroom door because there is a distinct rhythmic scratching and thumping coming from the hallway right outside. It sounds deliberate, almost like something is pacing and testing the barrier between them. He finally works up the nerve to open it, bracing himself to find an intruder, or maybe hoping to just find one of his pets, but the hallway is completely dead.
Dude. Don't fucking scare me, dog. Fuck. The fuck, man? Fuck off, dog. Did you fucking see that, dude? Why every time I'm fucking alone, dude? Fuck.
He sweeps the entire house, clearing the bathroom, navigating the living room, and stepping into the other rooms, but he finds absolutely nothing. His cat is completely unbothered on the bed, and his dog is just chilling in the living room, proving this wasn't an animal making that noise. In paranormal research, the bedroom is considered the ultimate sanctuary. When a haunting moves from the periphery to actively scratching at the bedroom door, it's a tactic called predatory isolation. The entity is trying to make him feel unsafe in the one place he needs to rest, feeding off the exhaustion and paranoia that comes from realizing a locked door won't stop the intrusion. He's essentially trapped in a psychological siege, and whatever is in that house wants him to know there is nowhere left to hide. The situation reaches a breaking point in the final piece of footage. The homeowner is fully on edge, exhausted, and desperately trying to pinpoint the source of the escalating activity. He hears a disturbance and steps outside into the darkness of his front driveway to investigate. After finding nothing, he quickly retreats back inside, visibly terrified, only to realize the entity used that as a distraction. The camera pans across his bedroom to a full-length mirror hanging on his door, and across the entire width of the glass is a massive, jagged crack. He points his camera at the damage and explicitly states, "It was not like that, dude."
Some noise coming from in there. Oh, hell fucking no. What the fuck? Dude. Oh, I'm blind. Ah, crap. Fucking garage door's locked. I don't want to go in there. Shit. Look at my fucking mirror. It was not fucking like that, dude.
Now, here's where we have to ask the big question. What exactly is this entity? In paranormal theory, when a haunting involves both intense physical manifestation, like moving heavy boxes and breaking mirrors, and psychological manipulation, like knocking and opening blinds, we are likely looking at a poltergeist or a highly volatile elemental entity. Unlike traditional human spirits, which are often residual and passive, poltergeists are fueled by raw, chaotic energy. They don't just haunt a space. They feed off the fear and anxiety of the people living there, escalating their physical attacks to generate even more of the terrified energy they need to manifest. But if you thought the broken mirror was the climax of this haunting, the final piece of footage proves the entity is no longer restricted to the shadows or the dead of night. The homeowner has set up a static camera in his well-lit dining room. He's just going about his day, doing the dishes in the kitchen while music plays in the background. But as he steps out of the frame, for just a moment, a heavy wooden chair at the dining table suddenly slides backward across the floor, scraping loudly as if an invisible guest is pulling it out to take a seat. He immediately steps back into the room, staring at the chair in disbelief, and asks the only question left. Did this fucking chair just move? In paranormal investigations, daytime or well-lit activity is extremely rare and signifies an entity that has amassed a dangerous amount of energy. It no longer needs the cover of darkness to manifest. The act of pulling out a chair is intimately domestic. It's an intelligent, almost mocking gesture. The entity is telling him that it lives there too. It sits at his table, and it is entirely unafraid of him. At this point, the house doesn't belong to him anymore. So what do you think? Is this an aggressive poltergeist asserting dominance over the property? Or is there a much darker, demonic attachment at play? This next clip comes from a creator named Corey, who learned the hard way that being home alone doesn't always mean the house is empty. It starts when his partner takes the dog out for a walk, leaving him completely by himself. That's when he begins hearing inexplicable noises echoing up from the basement, a bizarre repeated thud, followed by laughter and a blood-curdling, shrieking scream. Determined to prove he isn't losing his mind, he decides to run a simple experiment, marking the basement doors with pillows to see if anything physical is moving down there. The next day, the video he records confirms the impossible. The pillow has been pushed completely aside. He immediately sets up 2 security cameras to monitor the house, but the entity doesn't seem to care. His dog begins acting incredibly strange, pacing the hallway, whimpering, and just staring endlessly into an empty room. But the real terror happens when one of the cameras suddenly glitches and goes completely blank.
My partner stepped out with the dog for one last walk at that night, and I was the only one left in the house at this point. I grabbed my phone as quick as I could and actually captured the noises. There was a couple different noises that were heard. It played that noise twice, and then laughter style, which you'll hear later, and then it also played like a very loud shrieking noise of a girl screaming. So I don't know, it came from the basement. It was just mind-numbingly loud. So I did what any composed man would do. I grabbed a knife and gave it a good 5 minutes and went down and looked around. So at this point I noticed everything was normal, and there's a couple of rooms down there I didn't really care to look in, so I just marked the doors with pillows so I could go back and see if anything had moved the next day from my video I was taking. And at this point in time we determined just to get out of the house, take the dog with us, and
come on, Jesse, up.
Get out of there because there's just too many unexplained things.
Come on, up. Let's go. Come on, up.
Go. She had to come back the next day first thing, so I said, as soon as you get there, check for the ball at the door and then take pictures of the pillows downstairs. And this is what she sent me. Well, this is the original. This is what she sent me. Normal. Video. Next day. So at this point I realized, okay, someone's in the house. Get the hell out of there. And I went over there and put 2 cameras in there, one in the bonus room and one on the main floor, which captured everything. It was the weirdest thing. The dog just went up and down all day and just stared into a room and just whimpering back and forth. We're not gonna pretend like the decor up there is normal by any means. And then the camera did the weirdest thing. It just went blank. So she went back to check that night, and finally we captured the laughter on the cameras. Her motion had set it off and saved the clips, and to this very day we cannot explain what happened that day. Everything's been disconnected electronically in the house.
Now, here's where it gets deeply unsettling. While the screen is black, the camera's audio picks up a bizarre, wailing groan, immediately followed by a distinctly childlike voice calling out Mom. If you dive into the comments on his original post, Sharp-eared viewers even point out a terrifying, hidden whisper earlier in the footage, directly asking, "Do you see me?" In paranormal theory, this specific type of vocal manipulation is the signature of a mimic. A mimic is an entity that replicates familiar, harmless, or vulnerable sounds, like a woman screaming or a child calling for its mother, specifically to lure its victims into isolated areas like a basement. The fact that his dog was terrified and the cameras malfunctioned right before the voice was captured suggests a massive spike in electromagnetic energy. The entity wasn't just trying to make some noise, it was actively trying to bait him back downstairs into the dark. In the following video, a Ring security camera in a seemingly quiet residential neighborhood captures a sequence of events that has left the homeowner, Adam Gibson, in a state of genuine distress. For weeks, Adam had been noticing peculiar movement on his property, fleeting shapes caught in his peripheral vision, and the sound of footsteps when no one else was outside. Initially, he attempted to brush these occurrences off as local wildlife or simple visual tricks, but the frequency began to form a pattern that made him feel as though he was being watched. His suspicions were finally validated when he reviewed his camera's archive. The footage focuses on Adam's driveway during the late hours of the night. Take a look. As you can see, a small, dark shape suddenly materializes on the left side of the frame and darts across toward the right. What makes this manifestation so baffling is its translucent quality. The texture of the pavement is clearly visible through the figure's form as it moves. It doesn't run with the heavy, rhythmic gait of a living person, but rather glides with a fluid, unnatural speed before vanishing into thin air just as it reaches the edge of the frame. Adam shared the footage in a paranormal research group on Facebook, admitting he is now scared because the activity has become so consistent. In paranormal theory, such sightings are often categorized as residual hauntings, echoes of the past that replay under specific conditions. However, the fluid speed has led some to speculate this could be a more sentient entity. Is Adam's yard a corridor for energy from another era, or is a spirit trying to communicate? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In the next video, a resident named Jorge Luis captures a sequence that blurs the line between a nightmare and a physical manifestation. Jorge explains that while he has experienced vivid dreams before, this night felt as if something were physically present in the room. He didn't wake up with a clear memory, but his surveillance footage revealed an anomaly that has left him terrified.
Get away. Get away. Get away from me. Help. He's also attacking me. I need help, someone. Help! Help! I'm trapped. I'm trapped.
Let me out. Let me out. Be her hostage. Oh. This is my family. Don't take my family. Take me instead. Let them go.
At the start of the recording, pay close attention to the cross hanging above his bed. In a move that defies logic, the cross slowly rotates until it is completely upside down. This is a sign often cited in paranormal theory as a mocking presence. As Jorge tosses and turns, a dark, shadowy mass begins to coalesce in the corner, far denser than any natural shadow. The most heart-wrenching part of this footage is the audio. Amidst the silence, strange, disembodied whispers fill the room. Caught in the grip of a night terror, Jorge begins to plead for his life, audibly crying out, "Somebody help me, I need help," as if he is being physically overwhelmed. Jorge shared this footage with his followers, admitting that going back through the recording made him feel that something was actually there. The way the environment reacts to his distress, particularly the manipulation of the cross and the chilling vocal captures, suggests an entity that was feeding off his vulnerable state. In the field of paranormal research, this type of activity is often linked to shadow people or night hag phenomena, where an entity doesn't just haunt a space, but actively targets a person's subconscious. Theory suggests these beings act as psychic vampires, provoking extreme terror and pleas for help because they consume the raw emotional energy released during a state of sleep paralysis. Skeptics might look for strings, but the silent rotation of the cross, paired with those desperate pleas, remains baffling. Is Jorge's bedroom a site for spiritual interference, or did he invite something in that refuses to leave? I'll let you be the judge. In this next clip, we witness a chilling occurrence captured by a young man who was simply trying to enjoy a quiet night at home. While watching a scary video on his computer, he began to notice something that was far more frightening than anything on his screen. His bedroom curtains were moving entirely on their own. Jorge explains that he immediately checked for any logical explanations, but the fans in the room were turned off and there was no discernible draft. But that's not all that happened. Driven by a mix of fear and a need for answers, Jorge finally decided to look outside his window to see if a prowler was responsible for the disturbance. But what he captured on the street below was far more unsettling than a person.
So I'm just chilling in my room. The fans are on. When I was just watching this scary ass video, shadow figure just standing outside, like on the street, and just moved. I have no idea where my curtains are moving. Like, see, none of them were moving.
Looks like there. That's a street lamp, but what is that underneath it? Cause that wasn't there 10 minutes ago, so I have no idea right now.
In the shadows cast by a flickering street lamp, a dark, stationary figure can be seen standing perfectly still. Jorge notes that this mysterious silhouette was not there just 10 minutes prior, and it seems to watch the house with an eerie, unblinking intensity. In paranormal theory, this is often described as a watcher. These entities are frequently reported in conjunction with physical disturbances like moving objects or curtains, suggesting they are capable of manifesting enough kinetic energy to interact with the environment from a distance. Whether this was a physical intruder or something far more spectral, the stillness of that figure on the street is enough to make anyone lock their doors. So what do you think? Was Jorge being hunted by a literal shadow, or was this a series of terrifying coincidences?